Welcome from Maryland.
Louis Rangel, Downey, California.
Welcome, Louis.
Martha Spears, Tallahassee, Florida.
Welcome from Tallahassee.
Angel Tran, Houston, Texas.
Welcome, Angel.
Calvin Hong, San Jose, California.
Welcome, Calvin. I think we can get going. Mr. Rangel, are you on the line?
Yep, that's exactly right. Nope, that's it. Thanks.
I am, Chris. I am. How are you, brother?
I'm building, sir.
That's right. That's right. Let's get this meeting started. 1 second here. Can you hear me okay, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this meeting started. Hope everybody's doing great. We've got a special guest here today that I'm going to bring up here in a few minutes. But before that, by any chance,
Recording
Chris,
in
do you have the
progress.
flyer? Chris, do you have the flyer for this weekend Super Saturday?
I do. I can have it. We can post it in the WhatsApp chat shortly.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do that. And if you could share it on the screen here or post it in the chat and I can share my screen.
All right, I'll do that here in a second.
Okay. All right. All right. 1 second, guys. See, okay, perfect. Okay, so welcome to today's call. I actually haven't done this call in a while, and but I'm very excited to be here because there are some adjustments that need to be made in the solar industry. I'm personally not worried about it. We dealt with something similar to this 2 years ago here in California when we went from NEM 2 to NEM 3. And, it's about those companies that adjust accordingly, right? So I'm going to step out of the way in a couple of minutes so we could bring up the man of the hour, Mr. Brett Bushey Jr., who's going to let us know about the state of the industry, the state of where freedom is at, where freedom lies in the middle of all of this stuff, and why so many people are looking into freedom now. So many solar professionals are looking to go with freedom now because of the solutions that they have for these situations, right? But before I get into that, ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely important that we know that this weekend is one of the most important Super Saturdays that we've ever done. There's two things that are happening this weekend. Let's make sure, Chris, that everybody's muted, please. I think there might be some background noise. Let's see here. Okay. In case you did not know, here's what's happening. This weekend at the Doubletree Hotel, Anaheim, California, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we're going to be doing a Super Saturday in person, okay? Very important that you promote, that you get your people to this event because we're going to be breaking down Zeta, but we're not only going to be breaking down Zeta, but we're going to have Mr. Kevin Ross in person. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but you guys have seen the momentum. You guys have heard the buzz of what's happening with Zeta. We are not just a solar company, right? So we're, of course, going to talk about the rest of the service that we have, but that's a Super Saturday for introduction to Zeta. Not only that, here's what we're going to be introducing as well. We're going to be introducing the new Build PowerPoint with an emphasis on the subscription model and the benefits of our subscription model. Okay, so the benefits, the vision of Build is to have a subscription that is more valuable than any subscription that is out there. So we're going to be breaking down the solar side, the essential services side, right? The travel benefits and the free vacation you get at the end of the year as a builder. We're going to be breaking down everything in addition to Zeta, and we're going to be doing the Q&A session with Mr. Kevin Ross, and it's going to be followed by a tremendous training. So you want to make sure that not only are you registered, by the way, let's put the link in this chat for the Humanitix link for the Super Saturday. It's a free event. And let's also put it in the WhatsApp chat. Very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that you promote. And if you're not local, the question is this: can you make it anyways? And if you cannot make it anyways, who do you know Who do you know in the Los Angeles area? Let's make sure that we promote it. We get as many people to this event as possible. Okay, Mr. Navarro's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Mr. Kevin Roth's going to be there. Mr. Pacheco's going to be there. Trust me, we got to do a better job, ladies and gentlemen, of having a sense of urgency with events like this and getting ourselves to these events and getting our guests to these events. So that's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing all of you guys this weekend at This Weekend Super Saturday. As you can see in the screen, we've got the flyer for the Super Saturday. Anaheim, California, at the DoubleTree. Parking is free. Usually they charge for parking. The parking is comped for our members. So you don't have to worry about the parking. Just show up, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. Anyways, with that being said, it's time to bring up our guest today. This gentleman is somebody that I'm very excited to be working with. He's somebody that, and can I do a mic check? Can we see if we've got Mr. Brett Bushy on the line? Let me see here. Okay, 1 second.
I don't see his name, JC, unless it's something different.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So he just texted me. He should be getting on here shortly. 1 second.
JC, he just joined.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman that we're going to introduce here today is the son of the Brett Bushy Sr. is the owner of Freedom Forever. Brett Bushy Jr. is obviously his son, and he's a person in charge of the dealer program. He's a person in charge with Solar Pros. I'm going to let him let you know, but he's who we've been dealing with since we started with Freedom. It's been a tremendous support and has a lot of years, not only in the solar industry, especially in the solar industry, but he also has a background in the network marketing industry as well, to the point that he actually used to own his own network marketing company in the past. So that's one of the reasons why we got along so well when we first started working together. And it's been a great relationship since. So with that being said, I'd like to do a mic check for Mr. Brett Bushy. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. The floor is yours, my friend.
So thank you so much for everyone hopping on here. Absolutely love this community. JC, Wences, all the leaders here. What you guys are doing is it's very unique and it's awesome. And I think it's needed in this space. So yeah, once again, just very grateful for this community, but wanted to dive in a little bit to where we're at in the industry. A lot of people create generational wealth when there's problems, and there are problems right now. And I think we're so well positioned with where we're at with Freedom Forever, Solar Pros, and Build to be able to be a solution to many people's problems. As some of you know, there was a vote in the House of Representatives with tax credits and how those are going to work. Ended up being not very beneficial. They switched some things in the middle of the night. It passed by one vote. Ultimately, what we're doing now is we're going to the Senate, and they're going to have another vote. We feel very favorable in the direction that it's going to go. There are House of Representatives that came out and said we didn't really understand what we were voting for. When you read the bill, it's kind of confusing. It's over 1,000 pages. So we believe if the reps in the House actually read the read the bill fully, it wouldn't have passed as is. So we believe it's going to change in benefit to really support TPO options. The changes that they made essentially said if the bill passes as is, we're going to lose the tax credit about 60 days after the Senate votes on it. And so a lot of senators have come out and said we cannot do this. It's going to be detrimental not only to solar but AI. Like there's so many industries really contingent upon clean energy. And so we feel really good about the direction we're going in. But also too, I want everyone to be prepared. Like anything can happen in life. And so we're even planning for the worst case scenario. Okay, what would happen if this bill does pass? And it puts us in a very unique opportunity because if commissions compress a little bit, who's in the best position possible to really succeed from that? And it's Freedom Forever. If commissions compress a little bit, the red line model only works for people who really like to take advantage of the customer and really price super high, where the better deal you give to the customer, Freedom always succeeds in that case scenario. So I want everyone on this call to be prepared. We don't believe it's going to go in that direction. We think that TPO products are going to probably be extended for another 2 or 3 years. But even in that 5% chance, if this were to occur, it's actually really beneficial for us because you're going to see 50% of the country operates on loans right now. So even if the bill stands, it goes positively for TPO products, a lot of solar installers that are local can't get a hold of TPO products like Enfin, GoodLeap, um, Everbright, Sunrun. And so one way or another, you're going to see a lot of people go out of business, in July and August, going through the end of the year. And that puts Freedom in a position where each of you guys are phenomenal recruiters in this, can start going to people on LinkedIn, start going to people in the industry who never even had an option to have a PPA and go, hey, like, I know you really enjoy solar. I know you've only had access to loans. Like, let's come in. Also, the same thing with Sunrun. Like anyone that's attached to a finance product is going to get hammered, especially like a publicly traded company. You see Sunrun stock is down right now. That is why we're privately held. So we can make decisions that are best for the next 5, 10 years of solar and Freedom Forever and Solar Pros and Build versus us just making decisions over the next quarter to really help our shareholders make more money. And so that's really important to us. One other update I wanted to give you is in regards to Mosaic. As I'm sure some of you have seen, Mosaic is filing for bankruptcy, which stinks. They're a partner of ours. We don't love seeing that. But just to kind of give you like a peek behind the curtain of like how well Freedom is positioned, Freedom was receiving about 50% M1s. It might have been, it really fluctuated. It was between 30 and 70% M1s upfront before the deal was installed. And so it put us in a really good position because ultimately, with Sunrun filing for bankruptcy, they've reached their terms with us and paying us on time. So now we have this big like cash reserve essentially of Mosaic jobs, which frustrates some people because Freedom always has the best terms. We have the best terms with everyone because we do the most volume, but also our default rates are the best. Not to dive super deep down this rabbit hole, but the lower that installers price, the more likely it is that homeowners, in a big data set are going to pay their monthly bill. So the finance companies really value our business because we sell lower and we have a great quality product. And so they're always willing to give us the best terms. And so with this, Mosaic essentially going under gives us this big cash reserve of these projects that were never installed. And now we're bringing them all to Enfin Loans. There's a webinar going on with Enfin right now where we're going to start introducing loans with Enfin nationwide, which is going to be a really great product to have. We'll have a recording that we could send out to everyone on this, but it essentially is allowing Freedom to double dip financially. We're going to pay everyone on these loans that flip the jobs over to Enfin. If a customer doesn't qualify, we'll dip into those the Mosaic money that we essentially have on hand. But it's really just put us in a great position, which frustrates a lot of people in the industry. But that is the beauty of working with a Costco. Like we're always going to get the best terms for everyone. We're going to get the best terms for build. It really puts us ahead of the game and we love having an unfair advantage. So I know we kind of went a little bit all over the place. That is where the industry is at right now. We have a lot of things going on, but I just wanted to open up, the floor for any questions that anyone might have. Does anyone have any questions about, Mosaic, the bill, Senate, TPO products, really anything? Let me check the chat.
Yeah, so I think for the sake of organization, since we have such a large crowd, why don't everyone put their questions in the chat and we can pose the questions and get them answered that way.
Perfect.
So Michael, it looks like you have a question. Go ahead and throw your question in the chat. And anyone else that has questions, go ahead and throw your questions in the chat as well. So we have a question from Eric. In my market, will finance loans be available because we do not offer TPO products in San Antonio, Texas?
That's a good question. My understanding is we're going to have NFIN loans as of today. So if you want to follow up with me in JC on that, we can double check on that after this. But my understanding is that loans are going to be available starting today with every state outside of Puerto Rico.
Perfect. All right, so that answers that question. The next question we have is from Robert. So it seems there is an opportunity to go to Sunrun customers and refinance with NFIN loan. Is that correct?
I mean, ultimately, that's your decision and prerogative on being able to do that. Like, our financing is always going to be better. You could sell a Sunrun project in our ecosystem, and the customer can get a better deal while you make better commissions against their Sunrun Direct. So it's like, yeah, on NFIN, most of the time you're going to be able to crush pricing and make a lot more. But that's just in general. I don't think that I don't believe Sunrun's going out of business, but it's just they're fluctuating quite a bit because they have way more liability. And let me just dive down this really quick. So Sunrun's a finance company. So in a time of turbulence, you want as many options as you possibly can have. Because it's like we have Everbright, we have Sunrun, we have NFIN, we have GoodLeap. And so they like all those are their competitors. So it's as a finance company, when you have turbulence, you can't really pivot, and we have the ability to pivot quite a bit. So that puts us at a great advantage against their sales organization. But ultimately, whenever you price against, NFIN against Sunrun, you're able to generally give a much better deal.
The next
Yeah, of
question
course.
is, is there a plan to expand design options through Aurora?
What specifically, what designs? We have something called like expert design. If anyone wants that, that's something that we can request. It's just a more complex, less cookie cutter way of doing Aurora. If that's something you want, we can get a list of people together for JC, Wences, or Chris, and we could start working on that.
All right. And hopefully, Dr. Arling, if that answers your question. If not, you can add more context to the chat. Question is, Laura, if Mosaic goes under, what happens to the clients with the current loans through them?
That's unfortunately not a question I can answer. Ultimately, like customers in a good position if there goes a couple months where they have to, figure out. My assumption is Mosaic's probably going to be bought by someone and assume all of that. But I just don't know who that person is. So customers will probably get an email over the next month of people that are assuming those loans.
All right. We have another question from Michael. If we have a client in Massachusetts that signed a Mosaic loan, the SOW was just signed, will that be moved to NFIN?
Yes. We need any loans that are in the pipeline via Mosaic. We want to switch those over to NFIN as soon as possible. And like I said, they're doing a live webinar right now as we talk. And that's going to be shot out in the next hour. We'll make sure that gets to you, Michael. And then to answer Tim's question, we do not have loans in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a very unique market. ultimately they had a lot of Sonova exposure. So not like we want Enfin, we want GoodLeap to be in there, but just no one is super excited about the Puerto Rico market because their default rates are abnormally high, and then Sonova had quite a bit of exposure there, which makes people nervous. So we're pushing all the finance companies to go into Puerto Rico, but it'll probably need some time to get some loans in there.
And there's another question we have from Milton. If the 30% tax credit goes away, how are TPO products able to keep going? Because don't they still need the federal tax credit, the 30% tax credit, question mark?
So in the case, like I said, I think it's very small. Like you can read, there's like 13 senators that came out and said like this bill can't stand as is. Like we need clean energy. So I don't believe we're going to go down this route. But just I'm in the belief, hope for the best, plan for the worst, just in case. The TPO products don't need that 30% tax credit to essentially operate. But what will happen is commissions are going to compress. Like you're not going to the $10,000 deal that you have in California is now going to be a $7,000 deal. So it's still going to be a great product. What I think is what we've been planning for with Freedom Forever, eventually the tax credit's going to go away, whether that's this year or 5 years from now. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but what you're going to see is all of the competition is going to cease to exist. So what we believe is going to happen is, say your commissions go down 30% in the scenario it did happen, which I don't believe it will. There's going to be no one to compete with. There's not going to be local EPCs anymore. There's not going to be regional EPCs. It's going to be like Freedom and Sunrun, and Sunrun's going to have a very limited product. And I don't know. I just think that we have such a better offering than them. So in that case, TPO products are still going to exist. Commissions are going to be compressed a little bit, but it's like people are either going to need to join Build and Freedom Forever, or they're just going to go into another industry. That is what I believe is going to happen. What about dealer fees for Enfin? They're going to be the exact same for Mosaic. How would you feel about still offering the 30% credit with Enfin loans? I think, yeah. So the 30% tax credit is still available with loans. But the way that the new bill is being written, it's going to make TPO safe and loans not very safe. So even in a good position, loans are kind of at risk. If you have homeowners, friends, and family that are considering or have talked to you about getting solar, whether loan or TPO, this is the best month in the history of solar to go sell. You have a real urgency that you can point them to. Everyone knows what's going on with the beautiful bill. And this is going to be maybe their last opportunity to get a loan. Maybe it's not. Maybe it gets extended in the Senate, but that's not our job. We can control what we can control. So I'd be reaching out to every single family member that has the option of getting a loan right now, or even a TPO product, and go like, hey, we're not totally sure what's going to happen in this vote in July, but let's get you locked in right now while we still have a 100% certainty. Yes, you should rerun them with Enfin and represent to the client. So yes, if you're flipping a job. Is there a market for orphan systems and Freedom? That's a good question on orphan systems. Freedom's doing a little bit of low-key work on orphan systems. We don't really publicize that. The finance companies have asked us to start working on orphan systems, but I don't like Freedom does not publicize it. They don't really want to bring in that business, but it's just kind of like if finance companies go to them and they want them to service, say, an installer that's gone out of business that they have a lot of exposure on, Freedom will do that. See the picture. Sorry, how will this impact customers? In terms of customers, I see Thomas's question. I would just hold tight on that. I'll get some new information to JC and Wences. It's all happening in real time, but most likely there's going to be a company that purchases the assets of Mosaic. Just like if you've ever had student loans or something, like sometimes they're sold off and then you're essentially just paying someone else. What's the effect on where will there be new? If the solar tax credit fully goes away, how will this affect the homeowner? It's not going to affect homeowners currently. Anyone who's locked in is locked in, which is why it's so critical right now to use the urgency. Like, if your best month was 3 deals in a month, you should do like 6 to 8 this month. Like, there's a true sense of urgency to lock people in right now. And then in July, we're probably going to get great news. Hey, stuff's extended, but it's once again like, let's just use this to be able to bring in as many people as possible. Um, Baselines for NFIN loans are going to be the exact same as Mosaic. You missed the conversation. Are all NFIN loans being introduced in all Freedom Forever states immediately? Yes, with the exception of Puerto Rico and Minnesota. Those are the 2 exceptions. Yes, Puerto Rico still has leases. We're still using Sunrun. And then to answer your question, Calvin, yes, Freedom Forever is the exclusive installer for build on the residential side. Same question about NFIN baselines. It's going to be the exact same as Mosaic. I'm seeing a couple questions about insurance going up with solar. I'm not super privy to that, especially in the Texas market, but I can ask around and see if I can get some answers for you guys. What is your opinion? So if NFIN is the #1 option, what's your opinion on GoodLeap at this time? I think GoodLeap's in a really good situation, and each market is different. It is such a evolving situation, which with each one of the TPO products. I'll send over a cheat sheet to Wences and JC, and they can send it to you. There's some markets where GoodLeap's better than NFIN. There's a lot of markets where NFIN's better than GoodLeap. In NorCal, Everbright is better than NFIN and GoodLeap. So it's like what's happening is these TPO companies are all trying to take their best guess at what the market should be valued at, and which is why we like having so many products to be able to use one here, use one there, and get the best pricing for the customer. And I have 1 more minute, and then I got to hop out of here for another call. For Minnesota, we're probably going to have a local credit union come in there. We just did that with Montana. My assumption is we're going to probably announce with Minnesota in the next couple days. With so many skilled solar pros soon to be out of work, what's your message to them? Why should they consider bringing their talent to build instead of looking for another job in a declining industry? I mean, so I think that's a really easy question. Like, look at the economics of solar have never been better. But when you're talking to other solar professionals that have not been in the build freedom ecosystem, a lot of people come out of this industry like they're in an abused relationship. It's really sad. Like, I got screwed from this installer, and this guy said he was going to pay me. And it's like, it's always these weird experiences that they've had, and they ultimately project that onto their new relationship and think, well, is build going to be different? Is freedom going to be different? And we're working on some really special things to be able to pay you guys from Freedom Forever directly and do some fun stuff. But ultimately, just because you had a one negative experience doesn't mean that your next experience is also going to be negative. Learn from your experiences. If you're with local EPCs, if you tried the dealer model, if you tried all these things that didn't work, why not try something completely different? Why not go to a safety net? Go to the largest residential installer that's privately owned with no debt in the entire country that don't subcontract projects out. You need to get to the heart of why people have had a bad experience, and it's usually quality. They subcontract. I didn't get paid. Someone went out of business, and you just need to empathize with people and talk with them. I think a lot of times, when you go to recruit someone at the point where their company goes out of business, it's already too late. They're already distrusting. They don't know who to trust. They don't know what's going on. The time to recruit people is right now, but not through sending them your build link. Go build relationships with people. People are hopeful that, hey, where my company's going to get out of it, or things are going to work out, or I'm not really sure. Build trust. And when that conversation comes about, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, you're going to be the first person that comes to mind, because you can subtly share the opportunity, but encourage them, and also know that you're a trustworthy person. So with that, I think that's all I can I can do on questions. I do need to hop on another call. But I appreciate everyone's time in here. Would love if people have more questions, I'd be love to hop on in the next couple weeks so we can go through some of this stuff again. But once again, this is the greatest opportunity for solar sales in the history of solar sales. Let's absolutely crush this month. And as we go into July, it's going to be recruiting season.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fred. I appreciate you getting on, brother. I know you got another meeting to go to, so have a great day and we'll be talking soon. Send me that info as soon as you can so we can share
Yeah,
with the team.
we'll do. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
See ya. Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so you heard it there. That's why we are so optimistic. And again, there were, 2 years ago when NEM 3.0 came into California, there were installers and sales organizations that literally upped and left. They went to Texas, they went to Florida, they went to other states, and we stayed here. We knew that it was going to get fixed. Solar's not going to go anywhere. And here's another thing that he didn't touch on. There's dealer fees. There's extra fees that the banks charge that are way too high. Those are going to have to come down. I've been talking to a lot of experts and they say, look, sometimes these dealer fees are as high as 35, 36%. So let's say you pay cash for the loan and then you ask, what's my loan? What if I finance it with the 3.99 interest, the lowest interest rate? Your loan will go from your debt from 40,000 will go up 36%. Whatever 36% more than 40,000 is, that's what it goes up to. So that's sometimes us sales reps, we shoot ourselves in the foot when we lead with a cash proposal. Then the customer says, oh my goodness, it's now 60,000, it's 62,000 or whatever 34% is, whatever 36% is. Then they say, you know what? I don't have the cash to do it. I'm going to just wait till I have the cash to do it. Then we lose the deal. And my point is this. The banks are going to have to lower their fees. Even the manufacturers, there's room in the cost of the equipment. So I believe that dealer fees from the banks are going to go down and the cost of the equipment is going to go down. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at, for example, other countries, there's none of this stuff. There's no tax credits or anything like that, and they're still going solar. So solar is going to be fine. It may be a little bit more challenging for 6 months, and then it's going to be back to normal. People are going to be buying the place that we are at in California, selling with batteries. Think about this: the average homeowner in California has to get about 2 batteries. That's an additional cost. People thought, oh my goodness, we're not gonna sell anymore. Imagine price, because we didn't used to sell with batteries. We were not used to selling with batteries. Now, 90% of the deals minimum have batteries, right? And another thing to consider is that utility bills are still going to go up. So anyways, we're excited about it. But here's the thing about Build. We are a business platform, right? We take on, and this is from a slide from our new PowerPoint. We are a platform that we take on the most lucrative and most relevant business verticals today, and we offer them through our platform. Think about that, right? So for example, when it comes to Zeta, right, that is the future, right? Decentralized, internet Wi-Fi router, you're being your own data center. That is something that is a futuristic product. So is solar, right? And then, of course, in our Essential Home Services Agency, with the water, with the home security, I don't know if you guys know, but now we offer internet, right? Mr. Chris McHenry is a go-to person. If you have a person that needs internet, if you're moving or you have somebody that's moving, they need to set up their internet, we can set them up. We are partnering with AT&T, with Spectrum, with a bunch of different companies. I'm not going to even name them here. Very soon, we're going to be doing a training on that. Maybe some of you guys have already asked us, hey, JC, can we switch over from our current company to another company? For example, Frontier to Spectrum or Spectrum to Frontier if you're in California. The answer is yes, you sure can. And I recommend it that you be a product of the product. So, and I'll close off with this. The last company I was with where I learned the solar industry, they are in a very bad situation. All they have is solar. If solar doesn't work out, they are in a very bad situation. Or even if solar works out, but it takes too much of a hit, they're out of business and they know it. We are not exposed at Build, because guess what? We don't have all of our eggs in one basket. We've got multiple verticals and we are in momentum right now more than ever before. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, remember, what do we have going on this weekend? Super Saturday here in California. Make sure that ask yourself, who do I know? Who do I know in California, Southern California? And I recommend that if you are within a 3 or 4 hour driving distance, come down to California. Come spend the day with us. It's going to be a great time. Mr. Kevin Ross is flying in so you can spend the day with us. So I look forward to seeing all of your beautiful faces. Make sure that you go on the link. It should be in the chat here. And if not, it's on the WhatsApp group. Go and click on the link and register, because here's the deal. We have limited seating. I don't want anybody to say, hey, how come I can't register? Well, it's already sold out. We cannot overfill that place. If you have a guest, register your guest. Very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that you register your guest, and let's pack it out. All of you locals, I fully expect to see all of you guys in person, unless you absolutely can't go and you've got something very important. But trust me when I tell you, I recommend that you guys make it this weekend. I appreciate you guys. Those of you locals, I'm going to be at the office in 20 minutes. I'll see you guys there. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.